Hello, today I'm going to review and unbox a warning lamp for bicycle, which is basically a rear light with additions for indicators so that you can indicate to traffic behind you which way you're planning on going. I think personally this is very important because when you're trying to turn when cycling you can't really indicate where you're going because you need to be braking often when you're going down a hill. So it's very difficult sometimes to strike the balance between letting traffic know what you're doing and obviously going around the corner at the right speed. It attaches to the seat post, I believe, and it also has a light function. And one of the things I found very useful is this is one of the few wireless ones. Most of them aren't wireless, which of course means you've got to have a bike that's the right size for a cable to be routed through, which is obviously quite difficult to ensure. So you've seen the front now. This is the back. Model number is apparently non-existent. But I do like the care emergency there. Anyway, it's Chinese, what do you expect, eh? Right, so inside the box we have the wireless unit, which I presume has some sort of watch battery inside. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I don't know how well you can see that there. There's a left and right indicator button. LED, which is for the actual light, and LD, which is actually the laser. I'm not quite sure how LD converts into laser, but that's the laser. Probably forgot to mention, you probably would have seen, it also has laser beams, or laser light, that comes out at apparently 630 nanometers wavelength to create cycle lane markers almost either side of your bike. Here we have the clip to mount it to your seat post for the actual light, whereas that's the sensor. Sorry, not sensor, the button wireless control unit. And here is the actual unit itself. Here we can see the output for the two lasers and the unit. We do also get two rubber grips, which will be quite useful depending on the size of bike. I've got oversized stems, so it probably won't be very useful on the front, but at the back perhaps. That's everything. Oh, that does look like this manual in there. There we go. This will be in first class Chinglish, I bet. Well, you know what they're like. I might give it a read through, but it's going to be self-explanatory, to be honest. The only thing I did have concerns about when I bought this, it was £8.99 on eBay, not £18.99 from the UK shipped, was that the actual indicators aren't going to be far enough apart, but I'll let you know how that is later, because obviously if you're quite far back you're just going to see one light from either side and a brake light, but I think if you're close enough these look like they're actually far enough apart that if the car was close enough to actually need to know which way you were going it would be able to see, so I'll have to report back on that. Okay, so that's the unboxing. I'll get to the review later. I might show some shots on the bike. Second part of my review slash unboxing. So I've now fitted the batteries and paired the unit. I do have a slight apology to make. This manual isn't quite as bad as pretty much every other Chinese manual. I mean, the punctuation's not perfect, but actually it makes complete sense. So good job there, whoever proofread that. And it's actually very clear. It tells you all you need to know. The only thing it doesn't tell you, which... oh no, it does still there. Disregard that. It does actually say halfway through the manual how to put the batteries in, but I personally would have put it at the front, but no matter. It wasn't difficult to do. There's two screws on the back, just to remove it. The only thing I would say is make sure when you put the cover back on, that you've got the cover the right way round, because otherwise you're going to go to put this back on your bike and you're going to find it's upside down, and obviously it's not going to be any good for the indicators. They're going to be the wrong way around, and the lasers are going to be pointing at the sky. And we all know how good lasers pointing at the sky are with helicopters. Right, so this is the unit. I'm going to show you briefly how it works, and later I'll show you it on the bike. We have an on-off button on the bottom, and then obviously the two lasers. When you press it, 2 flashes means it's on, 1 flash means you've turned it off. If you leave it on, I have found it does do 1 flash just to let you know that you've left it on every sort of minute or so. I'm not quite sure exactly, but anyway, that's what it does. So if we make sure it's on, there's 2 flashes. This is the remote control. It has dim blue LEDs. So for example, this will be mounted on your handlebars on your stem or somewhere, with the adapter there. You will need a Phillips screwdriver to undo the back, if I didn't say. So for example, if you're going to turn left, you press the left one, and then I don't quite know how well that's going to come out on camera, but that is very bright. So that's obviously going to be very visible on the road, and I mean right now it's reasonably sunny, so there's quite a lot of light in the room, and that's still very visible. Even if you sort of adjust the angle slightly, so imagine the car's not quite in the right place, it's still very visible. And as you can see here, there's a blue flashing light to let you know that you're signalling left, which is really useful, I think. And I'll come on to that later. And then obviously right, same story. One useful feature which I did see in the manual, it does also have a hazard light function. I'm not quite sure if you break down on a bike why you need to signal that you've broken down, because you just get off and push it, which seems fairly obvious to me, but obviously there could be other applications for this, such as the care emergency, of course. And so if you hold down either of the 2 buttons, after about 3 seconds it will start to flash, and obviously then you can turn that off again by 2 clicks of either of them. So if you wanted hazard light functions, there you go. I'm not going to explain, by the way, the pairing, because I don't think that's really necessary. It's completely self-explanatory in the manual, and as I said before, good job whoever proofread that. Right, now we've got the LEDs, so the rear light, that's on, and again that's very, very bright. I don't know if it's coming out in the recording, and it could be because the batteries I'm using are quite discharged, but there is a very slight sort of flicker. So that could be either the fact that it's pulsing on and off to increase the power, or it could just be my batteries, but I don't think there's anything wrong there. That seems normal for most lights to sort of slightly pulse them. And if you press the blue one again, that comes on, so obviously because it's steady. Press it again, you've got flashing, which is the one I'll probably be using. Contrary to popular belief, UK does not now have a law to say that you can't have flashing bike lights, so flash away if you want to. No innuendos intended. Right, so there's flashing. We also have a third mode, which on here, I don't know if you can see that well, flashes slower than the normal flashing, and it just pulses around each individual LED. Probably not as visible, I personally won't use that. Anyway, that's that. And finally, the thing that a lot of people will probably be interested in, LD, which of course we know is laser. I have no idea why they said LD, but anyway, maybe something to do with lane or laser. So you press that once, and as you can see, very bright. There, lasers come out the bottom, and as I said before, this is very, very quite brightly lit room, and still the lasers are very visible. So I've no doubt that at night, once this is on your bike, the lasers will be completely illuminating on the ground. So I know this probably won't come out well on camera, but this is very, very bright. Good warning on the manual not to look at it, of course, damage your eyes. But anyway, the one thing I would say, make sure that the lines are parallel, because you don't want them off at an angle or something. You can also tell when the light on your seat is mounted completely perpendicular to the ground in one plane, because you can keep it, if you keep it completely facing flat to the back to the traffic, the lines will be perfectly perpendicular. So I suppose that's almost a way of telling when your light's in the right place. But anyway, there's those, and you can also have those flashing in the normal way. I'm not sure if I would do that or not. I think probably solid lane and the flashing light would be useful. So that's about it. I'll show you it at night briefly, but I think I've gone through all the review sort of stage. One other thing to mention is this is supposed to be waterproof, and by the looks of the build quality and everything, I would say it probably is. You know, some of these products are not quite as good as they claim to be, but certainly if you look at the rubber seals on this, and it just feels well built, which is quite reassuring for $18.99. I don't know if the watch battery would ever run out on this, but if it did, I'm sure you could remove the 4 screws there. And again, it's got that rubber seal, so that's quite useful. And then so that's about it for the review. I hope you enjoy watching, and I'll show you it on the bike a bit later. But I did forget in my last part, I didn't see it. There does appear to be a screwdriver in the box, which is the right size. I don't know if it's focusing there. Is the right size for undoing the screws on the back to put the AAA batteries in for this unit. However, that won't be sufficient to do the screws for attaching to the bike, so obviously we'll need a larger screwdriver for that. But that's quite useful, it comes with that. And for $18.99, so far I'm very honest. Here's the light on my bike. I've got the controller in my hand. I know it's not night, but it's getting dark, and obviously at daytime it's going to be dark, so I thought I'd give you a fairly good sort of review of it on a bike in sort of normal conditions. Right, so as I showed before, you press the button, 2 flashes means it's on. So if I come back to roughly where a car would be, there you go, so it does work from this distance. Hopefully you can see that's very bright. I would say it's probably on par with car indicators, because LEDs are very directional, so it's very bright from back here, and obviously even if you're at quite an angle, that's still, in my opinion anyway, very obvious. So you change to the right indicator. I'm probably about 4 or 5 meters behind the bike now. About that. So, I mean, this is sort of optimal distance if you're for a car or something. I mean, that's where you'd be trying to indicate where you're going. And for those of you who for some reason want hazard lights on a bike, there's that. Again, very obvious. Obviously if you were very far back you would just see that as one flashing orange light, but it would certainly get some notice. And we've got the LED standard backlight. Again, that's very bright. These batteries are not fully charged, but that's perfectly bright enough for a normal bike. I mean, most bikes I see don't have lights that bright, and this is included in this, so obviously that's quite good. Have the flashing mode, or may or may not be using, I'm not sure yet. I have ridden this a bit now, and I think personally, having ridden this now, I think the solid is better, because then if you're indicating, more obvious, whereas if they're both flashing, it does become a bit sort of difficult to understand what's going on, in my opinion. But anyway, there's those 3. That one I won't be using, but if you wanted to use it, there it is. And then we've got the lasers. Our bike's obviously against the wall there, so you can't see it in full glory, but it's getting quite dark, and I mean if you're behind a bike you can quite clearly see those lines. So that's quite good. And then you've got flashing as well. Oh, I'm slightly out of range now. Obviously it's going to be on your bike, so it's not going to be anywhere near this far away, but there you go. So I think that's covered everything. So overall, my opinion of this, after having used it for a while, it's very good kit, especially for the money. It's very bright, even in daytime it's visible. I do usually reinforce it with a hand signal as well, but it certainly does get you noticed, and in my opinion it's good value for money, especially for corners. And one thing I in particular I bought it for, when you're turning and braking you can't indicate properly, so if you have that on, at least it gives the car behind you some indication of where you're going. But anyway, so that's my my review of the bike light indicator kit. $18.99. I'll post a link in the description to the eBay page that I bought it from. I don't know whether it'll still be there when you get there, but hopefully it will be, if not all sold out. Right, thanks for watching. Bye.